Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today our topic of discussion is from general pathology, which is healing of the skin wounds. Cutaneous wound healing is a process that involves both epithelial regeneration and the formation of connective tissue scar. It can be accomplished in one of the following two ways. The first one is healing by the first intention, which is by primary union, and the second one is healing by the secondary intention, which is by secondary union. Next we see healing by the first intention. Healing of a wound which has the following characteristic always heals by the first intention. The first one is the wound must be clean and uninfected. The second one is the wound is surgically incised. The third one is the wound without much loss of cells and tissues. The fourth one is the edges of the wounds are approximated by the surgical sutures. The incision causes only focal disruption of epithelial basement membrane continuity and death of relatively few epithelial and connective tissue cells. As a result, epithelial regeneration predominates over the fibrosis. A small scar is formed, but there is minimal wound contraction. The basic purpose is that the epithelial regeneration must predominate the fibrosis and the scar is always small. Next we see the steps involved in the healing of the skin wounds. The first step is within 24 hours. Neutrophils begins to appear at the margin of the incision, moving towards the fibrin clot. As seen in the principles of the inflammation, neutrophils or polymorphonuclear cells are the first to move at the site of incision or injury. Epidermis at its cut edges thicken as a result of mitotic activity of the basal cells. Within 24 to 48 hours, spurs of epithelial cells from both edges migrate and grow along the cut margins of the dermis, depositing basement membrane components. As they move, they fuse in the midline beneath the surface cap, thus producing a continuous but thin epithelial layer. So to summarize, the three steps are: the first one is the neutrophil migration, the second one is the mitotic activity in the epidermis, and the third one is the epithelial regeneration that leads to the formation of epithelial layer which is continuous but thin. Next we move on to day 3. Neutrophils have been replaced by macrophages. As seen in the inflammation that neutrophils are always replaced by macrophages. Granulation tissue progressively invades the incisional space. Collagen fibers are evident at the incision margins in order to strengthen the wound. Epithelial cell proliferation leads a thick epidermal covering. Here, the epidermal covering is comparatively thick as compared to the 24-hour epidermis formation. By day 5, the incisional space is filled with the granulation tissue. Neovascularization or formation of the new blood vessel is maximal. Collagen fibrils become more abundant and begin to bridge the incision as the collagen deposition is for the wound strength. The epidermis recovers its normal thickness and differentiation of the surface cells yield a mature epidermal architecture with surface keratinization. The thickness of the epidermis is now normal and it leads to the surface keratinization. During the second week, there is continuous accumulation of collagen and proliferation of fibroblasts in order to lay more and more connective tissue. Leukocyte infiltrate, edema, and increased vascularity have largely disappeared as the components of inflammation have to disappear at the end of wound healing. By the end of first month, scar comprises of a cellular connective tissue devoid of the inflammatory infiltrate covered by the intact epidermis, as the epidermis is now fully recovered and intact. Dermal appendages destroyed in the line of the incision are permanently lost. It is the side effect of incision that the dermal appendages are lost and there is mark of incision. Tensile strength of the wound increases with time. Next we see healing by the secondary intention. When a cell or tissue loss is more extensive, such as in the large wounds, as in the abscess formation, ulceration, and in the ischemic necrosis in the parenchymal organs. The repair process is more complex and involves a combination of regeneration as well as scarring. Abundant granulation tissue grows in the margins to complete the process of repair. Next, the question here arises that what are the parenchymal organs? Parenchymal organs are the organs that comprises of their main functional parts as parenchyma and its supporting tissue. The examples of the parenchymal organs are the liver, spleen, and kidneys. Next, we move on to differences between primary and secondary healing. It is the most frequently asked question in the examination. Next, we have a review of different features and their difference between primary healing and secondary healing. The first feature is cleanliness. Primary wound is almost always clean, secondary wound is unclean. The second feature is infection. Primary wound is generally uninfected, secondary wound may be infected. The third feature is margins. The margins of the primary wound is surgically clean. The margins of the secondary wounds are irregular and lacerated. Fourth feature is healing. In primary healing there is scanty granulation tissue, and in the secondary healing there is abundant granulation tissue that fills the gap. The fifth feature is the healing period. Primary healing have a short healing period, whereas secondary healing have a long healing period. The next feature is healing direction. In primary healing there is direct healing, and in the secondary healing there is healing from the bottom of the edges. And the last feature is the outcome. The outcome of the primary healing is neat linear scar, and of the secondary healing is the contracted irregular wound. Thank you so much, and please share your queries with us.